Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. Okay, get ready for quite an adventure today.
Oh, yeah. Where are we headed?
We're diving deep, really deep into the past, into the life of a true Renaissance giant.
Sounds intriguing. Let me guess. Florence. Big name.
You got it. We're talking about Leonardo da Vinci, a name everyone knows, but there's so much more to the story.
Absolutely. Forget the, dry dates and facts you might remember from school. We're aiming for the story.
Exactly. We want to piece together who this extraordinary person was based on what history tells us. Imagine this world brimming with new ideas, art and science just weaving together.
A real hotbed of innovation. And right in the middle of it, Leonardo di Piero da Vinci, born 1452 near Vinci in Tuscany.
Right, hence the Da Vinci from Vinci. But his start wasn't exactly typical, was it?
No, definitely not. He was born out of wedlock. His father was a notary, Ser Piero, and his mother, Caterina, was from a lower social class. It sets a certain tone right away.
It really does. And those early years, they're a bit hazy, aren't they? Adds to the mystique.
Totally. Did he spend those first years with his mom out in the countryside? Maybe soaking up nature?
Or was he in Florence with his dad? The details are, well, lost to time, mostly.
But there is that one story, that possible memory he recorded.
Ah, the kite. You have to tell that one.
Right. He apparently remembered, or maybe imagined, a kite coming down to his cradle, and it opened his mouth with its tail.
Wow. I mean, was that real? A baby's memory? Or
Yeah.
just his incredible imagination already at work?
Who knows? But it feels like a perfect, almost symbolic start for him, doesn't it? This blend of the real and the fantastical. It sort of foreshadows everything.
It really does. Okay, so let's jump forward a bit. Mid-1460s, Florence. This is where things really start cooking for young Leonardo,
Yeah, he's about 14, and he gets into the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio.
who wasn't just any artist. He was like the guy in Florence then.
Exactly. A leading painter, sculptor, the
Mhm.
works. And this apprenticeship, it wasn't just about painting by numbers.
No way. Verrocchio's workshop was like a multidisciplinary boot camp.
That's a good way to put it. Drafting, metalworking, sculpture techniques, painting, chemistry. Leonardo learned it all.
And alongside some other names you might recognize.
Oh, yeah. Botticelli, Ghirlandaio. Imagine the atmosphere, just soaking up all that knowledge and skill. What an environment for a young talent.
And his talent showed up early. There's that great anecdote about the shield.
Ah, yes. A local peasant apparently asked Leonardo's dad, Ser Piero, to get a shield painted.
So Ser Piero gives it to his son, Leonardo, and what does he paint?
Not just some standard design. Inspired by Medusa, he paints this terrifying fire-breathing monster.
He must have been something else.
Apparently it was so good, so startling, that Ser Piero thought, hang on, this is too good for the peasant.
Huh. So he gave the peasant a different, simpler shield.
Exactly. And then he sold Leonardo's monster shield to an art dealer in Florence for, a pretty penny.
Smart dad, and the dealer sold it on again.
Yeah, eventually it ended up with the Duke of Milan. So even then, his work was getting noticed and making money.
It just shows that unique vision was there right from the start. Incredible.
Absolutely. And by 1472, he's officially qualified as a master in the Painters Guild.
But he still stuck around Verrocchio's workshop for a while.
He did, yeah. Their connection was strong. They kept collaborating, which leads to that story.
The one about Verrocchio's baptism of Christ, it's probably exaggerated, but still.
Well, the legend goes that Leonardo painted one of the angels in the picture, and his work was just so breathtakingly superior to Verrocchio's own.
That Verrocchio supposedly threw down his brushes and swore never to paint again.
That's the story. Like I said, almost certainly an exaggeration, but it speaks volumes about how quickly Leonardo's skill was recognized, how rapidly he was, maybe even surpassing his own master.
Yeah, it definitely paints a picture of his rising star. But Florence, even with all its buzz, wasn't quite big enough for his ambition, it seems.
Right. Around 1482, he makes a move. He heads to Milan, seeking the patronage of Ludovico Sforza, the Duke.
And his job application, let's call it, wasn't just, I can paint.
Not at all. He wrote this incredible letter listing his skills. Yes, painting was there, but he heavily emphasized his abilities as a military engineer, an architect, a weapons designer.
He knew what a powerful duke would be interested in. War machines, fortifications.
Precisely. And as a little sweetener, he apparently brought along a gift, a silver lyre, a musical instrument shaped like a horse's head that he might have made himself.
Wow. Talk about making an entrance, multi-talented and understands court politics.
It shows he wasn't just an artist in an ivory tower. He was savvy. He knew how to present himself, how to appeal to power.
So this first stint in Milan, roughly 1482 to 1499, this is a hugely productive time.
Oh, massively. This is where we get some really iconic works. Virgin of the Rocks, for example. Two versions of that, actually.
And of course the big one, The Last Supper.
Ugh, The Last Supper. I mean, just picture the scale of it. Painting that pivotal emotional moment directly onto the wall of a monastery dining hall, the refectory.
It's monumental. But the way he painted it caused problems, didn't it?
It did, unfortunately. See, traditional fresco painting involves painting on wet plaster so the paint binds with the wall as it dries. It's durable.
But Leonardo wanted more flexibility, more detail.
Exactly. He experimented. He painted essentially with tempera on a dry, sealed wall. This let him work slowly, revise things, get those amazing details and subtle tones.
Ugh.
But it just didn't last. The paint didn't bond properly and started flaking and deteriorating relatively quickly. A sort of tragic irony, his quest for artistic perfection led to the work's physical fragility.
A testament to the challenges faced even by, well, a genius.
Absolutely. But his work in Milan wasn't just painting. He was heavily involved in Sforza's court life and engineering project.
Right, like designing elaborate stage sets, festival floats, pageants, court entertainment stuff.
Yes, and more serious things, too. He worked on designs for the dome, the cupola of Milan Cathedral, and then there was the horse.
The Gran Cavallo, the giant bronze horse statue.
The colossal equestrian monument to Francesco Sforza, Ludovico's father. Leonardo spent years on this, studying horses, making drawings, and he even completed a massive clay model of the horse. It was apparently awe-inspiring.
But it never got cast in bronze.
No. The sheer amount of bronze needed something like 70 tons was gathered. But then, well, politics and war intervened.
Ah, the French were becoming a threat.
Exactly. The bronze allocated for this amazing statue ended up being melted down to make cannons to defend the city. A real shame from an art perspective, but a sign of the times.
It definitely puts things in perspective. What about that room decoration you mentioned earlier, the Sala dell'As?
Oh, that's wonderful. Around 1498, in the Sforza Castle, Leonardo and his workshop decorated this large hall, the Sala dell'As, or Room of the Planks.
And they did something pretty special there.
They created this incredible trompe-l'oeil, the trick-the-eye painting. They painted the ceiling and upper walls to look like a pergola, like an outdoor canopy.
Made of trees.
Yes, interwoven branches of 16 mulberry trees, rising up the walls and forming this intricate canopy overhead against a blue sky. Imagine standing in that room. It would feel like you were in a magical grove.
Wow, that sounds immersive, like early virtual reality almost.
Kind of. It shows his mastery of perspective and illusion, and his desire to transform spaces, not just paint on flat surfaces.
Okay, so Sforza gets overthrown by the French in 1499, 1500. What happens to Leonardo then?
His Milanese patron is gone, so he has to move on. His journey continues. He spends some time in Venice.
Doing more military engineering, I read. They were worried about the Ottoman Turks then.
That's right, applying his skills to designing defenses. Then he eventually makes his way back to Florence. This is around 1500 to 1508.
And this Florentine period is also pretty significant.
Oh, yes, because this is when he starts working on perhaps the single most famous painting in the entire world.
Has to be the Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa or La Gioconda. That enigmatic smile, the incredibly soft, almost smoky transitions between colors and tones.
That's the sfumato technique, right?
Exactly. Sfumato, meaning smoked.
Yeah.
He achieved it by applying incredibly thin layers, glazes of paint, blurring outlines, and creating that lifelike atmospheric quality. It still fascinates people centuries later.
And he kept working on it for years, didn't he? Took it with him.
Yeah, it seems to have been a piece he was particularly attached to, constantly refining it. It wasn't just a commission he finished and handed over.
But painting, even masterpieces like the Mona Lisa, that wasn't all he was doing. His curiosity just didn't stop.
Not even close. His notebooks.
Yeah.
They are just mind-blowing. Thousands and thousands of pages.
Filled with drawings, notes on everything.
Everything. Anatomy, astronomy, botany, geology, hydraulics, engineering, architecture, you name it. Written in his characteristic mirror script, too.
Right, writing backwards. Why did he do that? To keep it secret?
People debate that. Maybe partly secrecy. Maybe it was just easier for him as a left-hander to write right to left to avoid smudging the ink. We don't know for sure.
And the content of those notebooks, concepts for inventions way ahead of their time.
Absolutely. Flying machines, an armored vehicle that looks like an early tank, diving suits, canal locks, even a calculator, a rudimentary adding machine.
It's incredible. Did any of these actually get built or used back then?
Well, many of the big ones, like the flying machines, were beyond the technology of the day. But some smaller practical inventions, like an automated bobbin winder for textiles or improvements to hydraulic pumps, they might have been implemented more quietly. Shows both the visionary and the practical engineer in him.
And the anatomical studies? Those are really something else.
Revolutionary. He wasn't just relying on old texts. He got permission somehow to dissect human corpses. Dozens of them, apparently.
Which must have been challenging, to say the least, back then.
Hugely. But he did it, collaborating with a physician, Marcantonio della Torre, and the drawings he produced. They're astonishingly accurate. Muscles, bones, organs, the vascular system.
He was essentially figuring out biomechanics, how the body works as a machine.
Precisely. And he made one of the first, if not the first, accurate scientific drawings of a fetus inside the womb. Just incredible dedication to direct observation.
That drive to understand, it seems core to everything he did, including flight.
Oh, flight was a lifelong obsession for him. He spent so much time watching birds, studying how they flew, their wing structures, air currents.
And then trying to design machines based on that.
Exactly. He designed ornithopters, machines with flapping wings like a bird's, and also concepts like a helical air screw, which looks remarkably like an early helicopter rotor.
Did he ever try to build them, fly them?
He made models, certainly. Whether he or anyone else attempted a full-scale flight is uncertain and probably unlikely to have succeeded given the materials and power sources available. But the thinking, the conceptual leaps, they laid groundwork for centuries later.
It's just visionary stuff. Middle of podcast. Okay, let's just pause here for a second. You're listening to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast, and we're deep in the incredible world of Leonardo da Vinci.
It's quite a journey, isn't it?
It really is. And if you're enjoying these kinds of adventures into history, into these amazing lives, do make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, that way you won't miss out on any of our future deep dives. We've got lots more stories to tell.
Definitely. So hit subscribe and you'll catch them all. Right, back to Leonardo. Later life. Outro.
So after his second Florentine period and some more time in Milan, Leonardo moves again. This time, later in life, from about 1513, he spends time in Rome.
Working for the Pope or Giuliano de' Medici, the Pope's brother?
Yes. But it seems Rome wasn't quite as fruitful for him. Maybe more competition. Perhaps feeling a bit sidelined by younger artists like Raphael and Michelangelo who were dominating the scene there.
So he makes one last big move.
He does. In 1516, he gets an invitation he can't refuse from King Francis I of France.
The French king was a huge admirer.
A massive admirer. He basically offered Leonardo the title of first painter, engineer, and architect to the king, a generous pension, and a place to live and work the manor house, Clos-Lucé, near the king's own Château d'Amboise.
Wow. A pretty sweet gig for his final years.
Absolutely. He wasn't expected to produce major new paintings, more to be this, resident genius, this living legend the king could converse with, though he did still work.
Didn't he create some kind of amazing automaton for the king?
Ah, the mechanical lion, yes. Reports say he built a mechanical lion that could walk forward, stop, and then its chest would open up to reveal a cluster of lilies, the symbol of the French monarchy.
That is just spectacular showmanship, even in his later years.
Pure Leonardo, blending art, engineering, and spectacle.
But despite all this recognition, all these incredible achievements across so many fields, there's that rather poignant story about his deathbed.
Yes. He died in 1519 at Clos-Lucé, aged 67. And according to Vasari, the art historian who wrote about him later, Leonardo supposedly lamented on his deathbed that he had offended God and mankind because he hadn't practiced his art as he should have.
Wow. Even he felt he hadn't done enough, or hadn't focused enough on painting, maybe.
It's hard to know exactly what he meant, or if the quote is even totally accurate, but it suggests this restless spirit, maybe always feeling there was more to learn, more to do. Apparently King Francis VIII had become a close friend and was deeply saddened by his death.
And even his final resting place has a bit of mystery to it.
It does. He was originally buried in the Church of St. Florentin at the Château d'Amboise, but that church was badly damaged during the French Revolution and later demolished.
So his grave was lost.
Essentially. In the 19th century, excavations found a partial skeleton and fragments of a tombstone with some letters matching his name. This skeleton was reburied in the chapel of Saint-Hubert-Amboise, and it's presumed to be Leonardo's.
Presumed but not certain. A final touch of enigma.
Exactly. It fits somehow.
So, Leonardo da Vinci. Artist, scientist, inventor, musician, engineer. Visionary. His life, it's just this incredible testament to what human curiosity, creativity, what one mind can achieve.
Absolutely. From that strange kite memory, maybe real, maybe not, to the intricate clockwork of his inventions, the anatomical insights, and of course, the enduring power and beauty of his art. His impact is just immense, undeniable.
What really strikes me is how his story just demolishes the idea that you have to choose between art and science, between beauty and knowledge.
Completely. For Leonardo, they weren't separate. They fed each other, didn't they? Understanding anatomy made his figures more lifelike. Studying light helped his painting. Observing nature-inspired inventions. It was all connected.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, what stands out most to you about him? What part of his story just grabs you?
For me, I think it's that relentless observation, the notebooks. The sheer discipline of looking closely at the world, a bird's wing, flowing water, a human expression, and trying to understand it, capture it. That combined with a fearless imagination to then do something with that knowledge.
Yeah, that combination is key. And maybe there's a takeaway there for all of us,
How so?
Well, consider that habit he had, meticulous observation, taking notes, across everything he was interested in, that dedicated focus, that deep dive into things. That seems to be how he made those breakthroughs.
It's true. That deep focus is powerful.
Maybe applying that kind of focused curiosity, even in a small way, to something in our own lives. Who knows what insights it could unlock? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. A legacy that goes beyond just the paintings and inventions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this whirlwind tour through the life of Leonardo da Vinci.
It's been fascinating.
It really has. This was Tell Me More Stories Told His podcast. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.